background, I guess, on myself. So I'm the area director of some of the SoCal facilities that Portfolio Hotels and Resorts owns and manages. I've been around IT for 26 years and specializing in hospitality for the past 11 years. Actually, I support 3 properties. One is a Hilton. It's Doubletree. So it's the Radisson down the road and it's the Sheraton that you're in now. And we've successfully deployed Ruckus throughout the properties. The level of wireless internet that we have to provide in the hotel stretches from the lobby to the event space, which you're in one of the event spaces right now. To this facility we have 100 meg fiber, and we can turn it up to 250 megs, 500 megs. So some of the items that we run in a hospitality environment are kiosks. We're running, of course, digital signage, and we're running the HSI-A network, which is acronym for high-speed internet access. So we also have the ability to run our POS devices wirelessly. Valet parking attendants also need to run through the wireless access. So we build it out not only for the guests, but for our own internal staff. With identity theft, we want to keep client isolation from one client to the next. In other words, the group that's in the ballroom now, we don't want you to access their files, much like they don't want to access your files. So with the Ruckus, we found that the client isolation works well. We further augment that with firewalls. One of the challenges in hospitality is we don't know this hotel runs 95, 96% occupancy. So we could have 700, 800 people just in the guest room area besides in the public spaces. So essentially what that means is, what about guests doing things that could impede our service, such as some kind of BitTorrent, point-to-point, peer-to-peer type networking, which we don't allow on the property, or we try to minimize it. It's an ongoing effort. One of the challenges that we had when I joined this group was engineers on a hotel are called for everything. So the guy that's just finished snaking out a toilet is now fixing a wireless access point. And that I found was crazy. You know, the skill set that an engineer has to have is limited when it comes to wireless access points. So what we were looking for is a product that worked where the hotel engineer was not part of the solution. And Ruckus seemed to be something that we could not have the engineers involved. And much like in the hotel environment, we use access points, then we have zone directors, which manage all of the access points. We also have gateways. Now the gateway in the hotel environment is, if you log in this space, you'll get a splash page. The splash page will ask you to log in, authenticate yourself, and we can do a number of things, such as limit the bandwidth that you're going to use, and we can do some cross-promotion. The splash screen is something that I've spent a fair amount of time with, because you don't want to see, when you access, when you go to a hotel and it looks like Joe's garage shop down the road, put something together, you start feeling, well, you know, maybe this is not a secure system, maybe this is not a professional system. So we spend a lot of time on the splash page giving the guest a feeling of that they've arrived at a substantial property. This is a large asset, much like the Radisson property down the street is a large asset. And we want people to have the guest experience has got to be such that they feel this is not just slapped together because we have to do it, but we really understand it. We understand the guest need, which is increased over and over. Now, to just give you an idea, in this property, there's about 25,000 connections per month that I have hitting the Ruckus access point. So, as one of the Ruckus gentlemen said, I have one access point in this room, but we do have others on the property, just believe it or not, going 15 floors up. The honest truth is, the mix is, we have about 22 rooms per one access point. So, the deployment in this property took under 2 weeks, took about 12 days, completely end-to-end. That included all event space. There's about 34 meeting room spaces, including grand ballroom. We have 802 guest rooms in this property. Took about that. The Radisson down the road took us about 2 weeks. That was our first full deployment. Was at the Radisson. This was the second one. So all of our switches are PoE injected, and everything comes to various core switches and IDFs, MDFs spread throughout the property, and makes it very easy to install. In terms of, when it's the first part says that it self-maintains and self-correcting. When I first looked at this, I was looking at the property. I was actually looking at the zone director just to kind of get an idea, what does Ruckus do? How do they facilitate an access point? While I was looking at it, an access point was going bad, it was going unhealthy. Go figure that. So as I'm looking at this demo, it's going unhealthy, and what it did is it moved the clients to the next closest access point, and then it rebooted it on its own. That was amazing to me. That means, trying to put in a solution where there's very little support from the internal staff. I'm spread kind of thin. I have about just 1,800 guest rooms to take care of, and about 34 different pieces of technology, of which Wi-Fi is just one of those pieces. The other thing in a hotel environment is we want to tie into the front desk. We want to tie into the PMS, the property management system, so that if a guest wants to charge the wireless access to their room, they can do that. So we have to have a two-way stream to the property management system, and we know if a guest, once they check out, then they cannot order anything, amenities such as wireless access. At the Radisson, for example, the brand standard is to give free internet access, and we give 512 kilobytes up and down free in the guest rooms. But we have an upsell to give a guest, say, 6 megs up and down. So through our gateways and PMS integration, we can do an upsell. So the guest can get a faster experience if they choose to. We can also do an upsell for our VPN, which will give a public registered IP to that guest straight from the room, and all done through technology. There's no human that has to be involved in that process. Setting up a VPN sometimes could be a daunting process when I've got 1,800 guest rooms. So we try and have at least a minimum of 2 providers. In case one of the providers goes down, we can still continue our service. So we do have a call center that is managed by a third party. The third party is called Hotel Internet Services, or abbreviated as HIS. They manage our call center, so a guest that calls at 3:30 in the morning is not reaching me or my assistant. They're reaching someone that is able to work with them in terms of resolving their laptop issue, their iPad issue, their iPod issue. The group that I work with, the Portfolio Hotels, have many other hotels, and they've replicated some of the efforts that I've put into these properties because it works well, and the guests are happy. Just to sum it up, there's 45,000 square foot of meeting room space, and I think overall we may have less than 20 access points, driving 34 different rooms. The grand ballroom holds about 1,000 guests, and we have 4 access points. We found that having the zone director on the edge of the network and not having all access points having throughput through the zone director was a plus. And that zone, the way when something gets unhealthy and it reboots it is just incredible. Where technology is actually working and working for us. So engineers have little, unless the floor gets flooded, that happens once every 2 years. We're not looking at these access points.
It's true. Hotels and coffee shops always have crashed access points. That happens all the time. And the staff may or may not know what to do about it.
Exactly. So wouldn't it be cool when technology takes care of it for you? And it actually works? I'll just touch on the IPTV deployment. So at the Radisson, what we decided to do is give the guests a better experience with their televisions and give them high-definition TV, which is a brand requirement, but it's also something that we wanted to give to the guest, and we wanted to deploy that really quick. So running Cat5 is exorbitant, Cat6, any type of copper. Trying to convert coax is also an exorbitant cost. So delivering it wirelessly was where we wanted to go, and an interesting story with Ruckus is the first venture into Wi-Fi or into wireless networks was with IPTV. So essentially we're using 7811s, and those access points, we're building out 5 rooms per access point. So that means we don't have to enter the guest room, and we can move the TV anywhere within the guest room. And that means deployment was fast, cost was, we have 580 guest rooms at the Radisson. That means engineers don't have to enter those rooms, as long as the set-top box in the room can talk to the access point. So, and delivering, with hospitality, we have to have a lot of encryption. The studios demand that. So there's encryption coming from the head-end unit to the set-top box, and the studios will sometimes turn up that level of encryption. So all that encryption and decryption is going on, and we have, it's a new deployment. We have very little interference, using 2 separate networks. So the Wi-Fi is on one network, and the IPTV, using the 7811 access points, is on a completely separate network. We are kind of embracing the green initiative, and we want to make sure that we're using less power, not more power. If the guest once the guest checks in, the TV will switch on, will greet the guest. And other services that we're going to be offering are people that like to go on Facebook or TripAdvisor, which folks like to go on. We give them the ability from the remote control, so they can rate the hotel. They can also order towels. You can order your food from the restaurant. You can have it brought up to your room. You can tailor the food the way you want, and that's all going wirelessly and integrating into our POS, the point of sale. So 2 integrations, PMS and POS. So we are embracing sustainability and being a green-aware hotel. So the handbook that you typically see in a hotel is now going to be a channel, and the upside of that is you can move fast through it to where you want. If we have changes on the property, in the hotel, any policy changes, we can implement that immediately. Your iPod, your iPhone, your Android device will now become your remote control. You could check out, you can see your folio from your portable device. And once you've checked out, then of course those applications won't be available on your portable device. So that's somewhat of what we're doing with IPTV, and again, absolutely using Ruckus for their great delivery. Yeah, thank you all for coming to the show.